All right, good evening then, guys. Welcome to From the Terrace, by the fans, for the fans. You're here with me today, just by myself. It's Connor. We've got no Dan, Jamie or Daniel. But we've got a special guest for you today. Lovely to talk to him. It's the throwing coach, Mr. Thomas Gronnemark. How are you, Thomas?
Hello, Connor. I'm really fine.
Good, good. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Denmark, where I'm living. So you can say normally I'm traveling a lot, big part of the world. But at the moment it's Denmark. I'm still coaching teams once in a while, but of course this Corona thing has been making traveling a little bit hard. So, it goes really well here. So.
Good, good. So you're still coaching teams locally in Denmark as well at the moment, as well as the others that you're doing around Europe?
No, not so much Denmark. It's more around Europe, and there are also a lot of interest outside Europe. So for me, it's all about how I make the traveling schedule and so according to quarantine, Corona, everything. So of course it's a pretty hard here. And then I'm also doing some, for example, for Liverpool, some throwing analysis over the computer of every game. So I can both work online but also live.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. So obviously, I know that you are a throwing coach. How did that come about? What made you start and think that's something that you wanted to get into and sort of push yourself forward for?
Yeah, first of all, I've been having a passion for throwing since I was a small kid. And the reason why is that, I think most people have like big cousins or brothers or uncles or aunts or someone they look up to. And I always looked up to I had 4 cousins and 2 of the cousins, they were brothers too, Ben and Johnny. They were like 10, 12 years older than me, and they were playing football like me, and I was only like 7, 8 years old. And I saw them make some really long throw-ins, and I just thought it was totally cool that you could do that, because it's not every player who can make a throw-in, so at least not a long throw-in. So when I was a teenager, I tried to develop a long throw-in myself, and I did. That was one of my specialties as a football player. So, and also came on a really high level myself as a football player. I came on the highest U19 level in Denmark. But I wasn't good enough to be a professional football player, but I had this really awesome long throw-in, and then I was also really fast. I never lost a running duel in my entire life in football. So in the mid-90s, I changed to athletics as a sprinter, and I didn't know how good I was, but already the first season I trained, I came on the Danish national team in athletics. So I had 6 pretty successful years in athletics on the national team every year, several times Danish champion, and also in 2000, together with my teammates from Aarhus 1900, we won the European Championship in 4x400 meter relay in Paris. That was the championship for club teams, and I ran the last leg, so that was fantastic. But in 2002, I've never been better in athletics, running personal records on the 100 and 200 meters, but I had moved to a small town in Denmark, in the western part of Denmark, because I met my wife. And sometimes we're doing something crazy because of love. So suddenly, instead of training in a big group, I was training alone. So I just knew I had to find a new sport, because I didn't feel motivation just by the wrestles itself. I want to be on the team. So in 2002, I changed to the national Danish bobsleigh team. And from 2002 to 2006, I was traveling all around the world, or at least Europe and Canada and the States, together with my bobsleigh team. And it was 4 fantastic years. And we were really innovative in the bobsleigh team, doing a lot of things you've never seen in bobsleighing before. So perhaps that was also what affected me there, because in the middle of that bobsleigh period in 2004, I got this thought, hey, couldn't I coach other players in the throw-ins? And the reason was because often before at least some of the bobsleigh training, we were doing indoor football, and we played against the Germans because we had a cooperation with the German national team. And suddenly I made this long throw-in indoors, and I got this thought, hey, can't I teach other players to make a better throw-in? So after that, bobsleigh trip, when I came home to Denmark again, I went directly down to my local library and tried to find that book about throw-ins, because I thought, hey, there must be a lot of books about throw-ins because it's a big part of the game. But I searched and searched and searched, nothing, and searched on the internet, everything on, but there was nothing at all. So I decided to make my own throwing course, because I've always been crazy about throwing. So I used approximately 6 months to make a long throwing course, and I was videotaping and video analyzing myself with how is the hip placed, the legs, how do you make the grip of the ball, the running, and a lot of other things. And then in the fall 2004, I had a throwing course, and to be honest, I didn't know if it would work at all. So I could have been starting with a youth team or amateur team, but I had the courage to contact a local Superliga team in Denmark called Viborg. And luckily enough, they said yes. And yeah, they improved their throw-ins a lot, scored a lot of goals, and the club had its best placement ever in the club's history this season, that season there. So, and the season after I came to FC Midtjylland in the 05-06 season. So all in all, it was a fantastic way into professional football, and yeah, the first 4 years it was only the long throw-in I was focusing on, but then suddenly one day when I was sitting at analyzing long throw-ins at one of my teams there in 2008, I saw my team losing the ball in a normal throw-in in the middle of the pitch, and I thought, hey, that was bad. And then the next one, and the next one again, and then they was like, hey, it can't be true that professional football players are losing the ball. I thought it was only amateur and youth players who were really bad at the throw-in. So I started analyzing all the games I could see, and I was totally in shock, because I realized that most teams had possession under 50% of the occasions when they had a throw-in under pressure where the players were marked. So I was totally in shock, because if you have the same possession with your feet, you'll only be playing Sunday league football. So in 2008, I developed my throw-in philosophy called the fast and the clever throw-ins, and to make it short, at least right now, it's the throw-ins all around the pitch. How can you keep possession, create chances, and score goals? So the last 16 years I've been a professional throwing coach, and the last 12 years it's been that long, fast, and clever throw-in philosophy.
I mean, that's amazing. I don't think that's something a lot of people think about when it comes to football. You've got your set pieces and your corners and free kicks, etc. And it seems like a lot of coaching goes into that side of the game. But you're right, throw-ins are just as important, because you get however many every game. And if you're losing possession every time, it is going to put you under pressure. When you were coming up with these coaching drills for the clever, fast throw-ins, not just the long throw-ins, what was you going through in your mind in terms of building a coaching drill specifically for those type of throw-ins to present to the clubs that you were working for?
Yeah, I was of course building in. First of all, I researched a lot. What was the challenge? What was the challenge in the different parts of the pitch? And that's also why, if we go to the clever throw-ins, that I'm working with 3 different zones on the pitch, like own penalty area, the middle of the pitch, and the opponent's penalty area. And then I'm having 50 different throw-in tools, so the players can use depending on what situation they are in. So first of all, I researched all of that, and then of course I've been using the last 12 years making drills for these specific situations, all the way from the basic things like how to make the players throw longer, throw more precise, but also basic space creation. That's like the basic things of everything, and because a lot of players are just standing still when they have a throw in. And then I'm like going on to the different tools in the different areas of the pitch, the different zones of the pitch. And then I'm also looking at a thing I call individual throw-in superpowers, that we have different players who have different skills. And sometimes you have a player with a fantastic first touch, you have a player with who's really fast. We have a player who's really good at protecting the ball. And of course, we have to use these individual throw-in superpowers to specific tools. So I'm also looking at that. And then I'm also, when I'm doing my drills, of course, I have a lot of hundreds of basic throw-in drills to use in the clubs, but I'm also doing really specific throw-in drills and for the specific club, because when I've been analyzing the club throw-ins on video, then I know what are the strengths, but also the weaknesses from this. And of course, you want to keep or build on to the strengths, and you'll also want to improve the weakness, so it's not a weakness anymore. So that's the way I'm like building my exercise. And if we have to look at the size, then you can say that, of course, sometimes I do some specific things with fullbacks. But most of the time I'm working with all the players. It could be 9 players where we're playing 4 versus 4 with a thrower or with a secret thrower, and then 25 minutes with those, and then we shift it because they're doing other things in the other parts of the pitch with another coach. Then I have 9 new players. It could also be a 5 versus 5 interval game on big goal with goalkeepers. Narrow pitch where I have a lot of throw-ins, take throw-ins in every situation. They're doing my throw-in tools. It could also be 11 versus 11 on big goals, full match intensity, and then we'll, for example, take 5 throw-ins in each zone, and then we'll play the situation out. So first of all, it's like, again, we are taking the throw-ins and the drills from many different levels, difficulties, but also looking at how many players we have. So all from individual to 22 players at once. So that's the way I make like the drills for the clubs. And it's, of course, as I mentioned again, there are some things I'm doing in every club, but a big part of it is really specifically made for the individual players plus the club, and also after the club's playing style.
Okay, wow. So when the clubs approach you to potentially have you under their employment, do they ask you to, I don't know, present different drills that you'll bring to it, or is it more of you tell them what you could offer in terms of analysis and drills?
Yeah, normally I'm not giving the club's drills before I have made a contract, because it's me who has to do them anyway. So just to give them drills, it doesn't really help them so much. So normally I sign a contract. Of course, before it's signed, we're talking about the playing style. What can I help them with? What's important? So without giving away too many secrets, I try to convince the clubs that it's really good and that they have me, that they hire me. And then you can say that my results is also like an advance for me when I have to like talk about contracts with the club, because they can see that the clubs I'm at, they're really improving their throw-ins, but also having good results in general. So I'll say that it's mostly after the contracts are made that I'm like, sharing drills, analyzing their videos. And again, it's also really different from club to club. Some people think I'm only coaching like the big elite clubs like Liverpool, Ajax, RB Leipzig, and all of my clubs. But I'm also sometimes coaching second league, third league, fourth league clubs. So my agreements goes from all the way from an inspirational visit where I'm just coaching 2 or 3 days, training days with the club. And then often I'll sign a longer contract afterwards. But it could also be to have a 3-visit contract with a club with a little bit of analysis, or like in Liverpool, the last 2 seasons, and now it's my 3rd season. The last 2 seasons, I've been having 5 visits of 5 weeks with the players and the staff per season. And then I'm also in Liverpool analyzing all the games on video. So the amount of work with the club and amount of analysis and everything, it's depending on the size of the contract. So you can say it's a little bit different if you are like looking at a normal normal job in the football club, because they're there every week and they can work with the players every day, or at least many days. And I'm like traveling from country to country. So of course it gives or there are other demands from me because I'm traveling, going from one culture to another. But first of all, I love the traveling, and it gives a lot of great experiences around the world. So I'm really happy with the way it's working at the moment. And yeah, happily enough, there's a lot of interest from all around the world. So
there's a lot of interest now, but have you had any issues with clubs, or has anyone ever sort of written you off before you've been able to offer your services? I think I saw one thing with Steve Nicol, an ex-Liverpool player, sort of turning his nose up at the thought of Liverpool hiring a throwing coach, but the stats don't lie. I mean, before you joined, the stats weren't great for the club. I think it was very low, like under 45% or just over 45%. And after 1 year of you being there, they went up to the second highest in Europe behind one of your other clubs in Midtjylland. So how was that? Was it just at first? Do you still get that now? Is there still some doubters out there, or do you feel like people can now see the benefits of what you do?
No, I've never really felt doubters from like the coaches or the managers world. And I've not really seen doubters from, like, now I'm saying, real experts, people who really know what they're talking about. But there have been a few pundits. I think that's another thing, because you're a pundit, you have been playing professional football. It doesn't mean that you know anything at all about throw-ins. So the criticism from Andy Gray and Steve Nicol, it doesn't matter for me at all. I'm not the kind of guy who's saying, okay, everybody who's not agreeing with me, they're haters. No, I'm having like this thing I'm calling the good, the bad, and the ugly criticism. Because I think it's really important to slice it up, the criticism, because criticism, that's one of the most important things we have in our society. If we didn't have any positive or good criticism, as I call it, then we wouldn't develop so much. So sometimes there are players who are saying to me, hey, couldn't we make that exercise another way? Or, for example, the last summer, again, I can remember Christian Poulsen, assistant coach from Ajax. He said, hey, I think it's a good drill there, but couldn't we put 2 small goals in it? Then it'll be even more entertaining for the players. And I said, hey, let's try it. Even though I thought it was a good drill anyway. So that kind of criticism, that's fantastic. We can learn so much from that, no matter where we are in society or life. Then we have what I call the bad criticism, where people are like questioning you. What are you doing? But these bad criticism are often because they don't have any knowledge. So often when people are saying, hey, throwing coach, that's a crazy job. And then, then I'm saying, hey, did you know that there are actually normally between 40 and 60 throw-ins in a match? And you're normally using 15 to 20 minutes on throw-ins and the throw-in related situations in a match. And then people are starting asking questions. So bad criticism can, from my point of view, also be good, because people who have criticized me, but it's been like okay, constructive, it's okay for me. So I don't think we should say that. We won't have that, because there'll always be people who are like, can't really understand. That's also okay for me. What I don't really like is what I call ugly criticism. And that's a little bit like both Andy Gray, but also Steve Nicol, who for me was clear to see that their criticism wasn't about learning, developing, being more smart on football, on a society. It was more about having fun because of my person, my job, and they weren't interested. And for me, that kind of criticism, I don't care at all. I'll just brush it off. And the funny thing is that kind of criticism, like the ugly criticism, often other people are answering for you. And you can see that, a lot of guys on the internet answered for me, both regarding Andy Gray and also Steve Nicol. So so criticism is just so fantastic. It's just so important. So my best advice to everybody, no matter if I'm meeting young people at my talks or I'm speaking a lot for companies too. I'm also say be really good at slicing up that criticism, because that's one of the most important things we have. So again, back to your question. I don't mind that that people are using that kind of ugly criticism. It's, yeah, to be honest, it's often just good a good commercial for me instead.
Yeah.
So that's fine for me.
Cool. Well, again, I was one of those people that jumped to your defence. I will just throw that in there. Because, as you can probably see from the top that I'm wearing, I am a huge Liverpool fan. So I probably know a little bit more maybe about you than some people that support other clubs. So in terms of Liverpool at the moment, how did that job come about? Did they approach you, or?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. First of all, I'll say that perhaps 95% of all clubs I'm coaching, they're approaching me. But I didn't really expect Liverpool to approach me, not because I didn't dream about it. Of course I did that. I've always been dreaming about coaching in the Premier League, but I just didn't expect it would happen at that time. So, but in June 2018, there was a guy, a young player called Andreas Paulsen from FC Midtjylland. He had improved his throw-in under my coaching from 24.25 meters to 37.90 meters.
Wow.
It was almost 14 meters only technique. He was sold to Borussia Mönchengladbach in Germany, German Bundesliga, for approximately £3 million or so. And I was really proud when he was sold, because he hadn't hardly played on Midtjylland's first team. He was just so talented. And that throw-in, that was just like Rory Delap. So he's going from really bad to like a Delap style. So yeah. Proud. So I tweeted something like, congratulations to Andreas Paulsen, moved to Borussia Mönchengladbach. He improved his throw-in from almost 14 meters. Then there was a small Borussia Mönchengladbach media who saw it, and they asked me for an interview about my job as a throwing coach. I said yes, and a few days later, there was a journalist from the German newspaper Bild who saw that interview and called me to, okay, can we make an interview about you? And of course I said yes, because the German newspaper Bild is seen for several million Germans every day. So so I had this article in the German newspaper about my job as a throwing coach. And then a few days later, it was early July 2018, I was visiting a chocolate shop with my family. We just had a little summer drive out in the countryside, and I have a wife and 2 kids. And just before I went into the chocolate shop, I just checked my phone because I had turned it off, and I could see there was a +44 number had been calling, and yeah, I thought it was just a guy from England selling pens or so. But then I listened to the voicemail, and then it was Jurgen Klopp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and if I hadn't been sitting in my car seat, I'd probably been tumbling over, because again, one of my biggest dreams has always been to coach in the Premier League, and especially a big club like Liverpool. So I tried to call him back, but he didn't answer. So I went into the chocolate shop with my family, and after that I thought, hey, might as well go back to myself to take perhaps the most important call in my life at home, in quiet surroundings. So I was driving the car, my wife sitting beside me, and then suddenly the phone rang, and my wife picked the phone up and she said, "It's Jurgen." And then I just took the car and drove directly into a grass field on the side, and I walked out of the car and picked up the phone, and it was Jurgen Klopp, and he said, "Hi, Thomas. We had a fantastic season in the 17-18 season with a 4th place in the Premier League and Champions League final, even though we lost to Madrid. But we were so bad at the throw-ins, and we lost the ball almost every time we had a throw-in. So Jurgen Klopp invited me to a meeting to Melwood the week after. And it should only have been a meeting, nothing else. But Jurgen Klopp was so convinced after the meeting that I had the chance to coach 21 Premier League players the day after, and it was all the players who weren't injured or at vacation after the World Cup. And the week after, I signed a contract with Liverpool FC. First, it was a half season. And of course, I can understand that, because even though I had obviously made a really good first session, I think they had to see what is a throwing coach. But then already in November 18, we made the second half season contract, and then we made a whole season contract the last season, and then a whole season contract this season too. So it's just been it's been a fantastic. It's been like an adventure for me. It's almost like a fairy tale, and sometimes not sometimes, almost every day I'm pinching my own arm. And especially the first 14 days after I was hired by Liverpool FC, I all of you out there probably know the thing that you're dreaming is something fantastic at night. It could be about love, it could be about fantastic journeys, it could be about big cakes, I don't know, but you wake up in the morning and then you're suddenly realizing, oh, it was only a dream. I dreamt about Liverpool FC the first 14 days at night, and every morning I woke up and then I realized, oh, it's only a dream. And then after that I realized it was real. So it was just totally messing up my brain. So again, it's like an adventure for me. It's like a dream come true. Being together with the players, no matter if it's been Melwood or training camps in Evian or Marbella. It's just been fantastic, and the journey the boys have made, like, you can't just come in like me with a lot of knowledge around throw-ins and then just expect that everything will happen, because it's a cooperation between me, the players, Jurgen, the other coaches, the physical coaches, the analysis people, and also the fans and everything, because they're also like really supportive. So that we could go already from, you mentioned a little bit earlier, but we've been going from the season before I came to have a possession on 45.4% at throw-ins under pressure where the players are marked. And Liverpool was number 18 out of 20 in the Premier League, so third last. And in my first season, we improved to 68.4% and went to number 1 in the Premier League. And of course, it's been giving a lot of things. First of all, it's been giving control that the team has been so much better than at throw-ins. You can say in the 17-18 season and before, the club played a lot of heavy metal football. And of course, when the team won like 4-1, one match, then 3-0, then was totally charming, then won 4-3. But the challenge was in a tournament like the Premier League, that the club was like won a game, lost one draw, 1-1. Lost one, and if you're playing 38 games, you're really like you can't win the championship by not having so much control. And the reason why a club still could go far in the Champions League is, of course, because you're playing 2 matches against every team, at least in knockout stage 2, and it's a little bit easier there. So the throw-ins have been giving. I know there's a lot of other things than throw-ins to control, but at least it's been giving the club more control. It's been giving more possession. It's also been creating chances and help the club scoring goals. And then last season we scored 14 goals after throw-in situations all around the pitch. And it's not the long throw-ins because we're not doing that towards the opponent's goal in Liverpool, but it's from all 3 zones. And this season we already scored 4 goals after throw-in situations. And actually it's 3 goals in the Champions League, because the 1-0 against Ajax, that was after throw-in. The Mo Salah penalty, 2-0 against Midtjylland, that was after throw-in. And then we had the 4th goal here against Atalanta, that was after throw-in. So again, it's really important to say that it's not to like put myself forward, but I'll just say that there's been a work from the whole team. Because at a throw-in, when you want to have success, it's not about I have to get the ball. No, it's about we have to get the ball. So there's a lot of space creation, a lot of movements, and there's a lot of runs without the ball. So I'm just proud of what we've done together with the throw-ins, all the team.
I was going to say, it must be you must get a real sense of pride to see that something you've worked on for so long and worked so hard to perfect, to actually see it come into fruition, and not just help a team to improve, which obviously is what you want for every team that you work for, but to actually see a team be successful, and your coaching is obviously a contributing factor to that.
Yeah, I'm really proud. I'm just I'm proud about everything that the work we've done together, and I'm just happy that Jurgen Klopp called that day, and the work from Liverpool has really opened up many opportunities for me, not only in Liverpool itself, but also last season I coached 8 different professional teams around the world. Right now it looks like it'll be more this season. There's also interest from like Asia, South America, and North America to bring me in. So it's only because of Corona that it's a little bit challenging now. So all in all, you can say that the call from Jurgen Klopp has brought a lot, not only to Liverpool, but indeed also to my life, also for my family, because they've been supportive around my job as a throwing coach for the last 16 years. And the first many years it wasn't full time. It was also mainly Danish clubs, and it was also, and not a lot of people know that, but until Jurgen Klopp called me in 2018, it was all the other clubs before that, they only wanted my knowledge around the long throw-ins. Yes, and it had been successful, not this season, the last season, but the 4 seasons before, we scored 35 goals after throw-in situations in these 4 seasons in FC Midtjylland, so approximately 9 per season. So the long throw-ins have been successful, really successful in Denmark. But I was just so frustrated that they wouldn't have my knowledge around how can we keep possession, create space, use my 3 zones, my 50 throwing tools, and so. So it's not only being in Liverpool, having success with the team, but in Liverpool I've been able to do anything I want in training. Of course, I'm communicating with the players, the staff, Jurgen. I'm analyzing, and I'm of course listening a lot. But I have a free role. It's not like Liverpool have been saying, "Hey, we did that. We've been doing this the last 3 years. Can't you do approximately the same and just polish it a little bit?" No, I've been given a free role, and that's fantastic. And I think that's also one of the best things about working in Liverpool FC is that people are really good at sharing knowledge, helping each other. So I've been bringing that thing with me to all the other clubs. I think it's really important to help each other and share knowledge. So yeah.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. So this year, you've already mentioned the Champions League, the fact that Liverpool scored 3 goals in that. But obviously within our group, 3 of the teams in our group are all teams that you work with. What's that been like, watching the games unfold and the teams are against each other?
It was really crazy. Before we go into it, I'll just say that I coached Ajax the whole last season. I'm not coaching them this season. I've been coaching FC Midtjylland the last 10 seasons. And again, as I told earlier, it was my second team already from the 5-6 season. So 05-06 season. And but it was really special. I watched it draw. I think I watched it on live score or somewhere. And of course, I knew we were drawn first because we were first seeded. And then I just saw we were paired with Ajax. That was just crazy. And then we had Atalanta. And actually, because last season I coached just Atlanta United from MLS. So a lot of people thought I had coached Atalanta too. I know it's a little bit confusing, but of course I knew that myself. It wasn't them. But then we had the the 4th team, and there was 12.5% that it would be FC Midtjylland or 1 out of 8. And then I just watched the draw. Then it was 1 out of 8, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 6. And I can't remember when it was, but it was really the very end. So I thought it could be crazy with FC Midtjylland. So it was FC Midtjylland. So it's really fun to watch, and it's it's of course crazy and fascinating at the same time to either coach or have been coaching 3 teams in the same Champions League group. So if I told that to myself as a kid, yeah, I probably have thought I should be stopped drinking or so. So yeah, that's a crazy situation, but it's real. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. It's one of those things. It's quite crazy. Like I said, obviously being a Liverpool fan, I know of you and your work. So I also knew some of the other teams that you worked with as well. So even when I saw the group myself, I had a little thought about how that must be for you, seeing all that coming together. So it must be amazing. So obviously we know how it started, sort of what you're doing at the moment, how you're doing it. What are your plans for the throwing coach? Where can you see yourself taking this? Are you, obviously you said that there are offers coming from sort of Asia and America, etc. Are you looking to take it that far and start to work with teams out in those countries as well?
Yeah, you can say I already had like Atlanta United last season. It was only like an inspirational visit of a couple of days. So because of Corona, I couldn't work on with my I was with Atlanta United at training camp in Florida in January. So, but the Corona stopped like the continuation of that. But again, I have offers from all around the world, and my dream for the next years is to coach as many teams as possible. Of course, I can't coach 30 different teams. It's also depending on how long contracts I have with, because if I have with Liverpool 5 visits per season, of course, then I can't probably coach more than maximum 7-8 clubs. So it's also depending on what kind of contracts it is. But that's my dream the next year is to travel the world and coach so many teams as possible. Then I have like my next dream again, and that's perhaps my biggest dream, and that may sound a little bit weird that you can have bigger dreams than winning the Champions League and Premier League, but my biggest dream is to change football so we have much better teams. And at the moment, I'm like only giving my secrets to the clubs I'm coaching, and it's only professional clubs. So at the moment, I'm writing on a book about throw-ins, so amateur coaches, so youth coaches all around the world can get my knowledge, because it's perhaps an even bigger problem than in professional football, the throw-ins. And I hear so many stories about kids who are afraid of taking throw-ins, and coaches who are frustrated because they have terrible throw-ins and they don't know how to make them better. So they're just all throwing the ball down the line and the players are standing still. It's just like duel. And so I really want to help with that frustration. Actually, it's a couple of years ago, I talked with a journalist who, he should make an interview with me. It was a live interview in my hometown, actually in Denmark. And he told me that he had been playing football for many years. He was a fullback, but he was so bad at the throw-ins. So every time he had the ball in his hands, he was really terrified. He was so much under stress. And I hear so many of these stories. And I think it can't be right that you're having a thing in football where you're just putting the players under so much pressure and stress, taking the joy out of football. And if it's just only been like 2 times per match, but again, there are normally between 40 and 60 throw-ins in a professional match, and perhaps even more in amateur and youth football. So it's so many situations. So that's my dream, to change throw-ins in football, not only for professionals, but also amateur and youth players. So writing my book, when it's published, I don't know, it'll be in a year or 2 or 3 years. Then I'm also having courses, so online courses, and traveling the world to educate coaches. And so what I'm doing right now, of course, I have my YouTube channel where people can find inspiration, but I'm also giving away I have like my best 4 basic throwing exercises. It's about creating space in the near area to the throw, and these drills can be used by every coach in the world, no matter if it's U10 or pro coach. You can get it on thomasgronnemark.com/free, or just go to my website, thomasgronnemark.com. So if there's a coach hearing this, just go to my webpage. There's been more than 3,000 coaches around the world who's been picking the drills up. So I'm really proud of that. So again, back to your questions, my biggest dream is to change football, and I can only do that by not only coaching clubs, but also delivering value via books and online courses and so. So yeah, that's my biggest dream.
Would you ever look to expand on what you've got now in terms of maybe bringing people into what you do and coaching other coaches to go into the same field that you're in, and specifically look at throwing coaching? Would you ever look to expand like that?
Yeah, so I think that I could do that if I come to a point where I'm thinking, hey, I can't coach more than 8-10 clubs, and then there are 50 clubs or 100 clubs who want my services. Of course, then I want to educate other people. So that's one solution to do it, educate them so they can, like, for example, work for me. But I could also just, like, give my knowledge array with, again, books, courses, conferences, talks. So but let's see what's happening. I think that right now the level of throw-ins are just so bad. If you're only looking at the Premier League, the Champions League, Bundesliga, and so, most teams have a really low level of throw-ins, even though it's been a little bit better since I arrived, because of course other clubs are also looking a bit like at Liverpool. But in every match we are normally 20, 30, 40% at least better in throw-in possession than the opponents in the match. So it's a big advantage for us. So I can't wait to give my secrets away in my book in the future. But right now I'm concentrating on the clubs I'm coaching.
Perfect. Well, Thomas, it's been an absolute pleasure having this chat with you. I really do think that what you're doing is amazing, and what you want to do in terms of changing football, I think is brilliant. And your coaching sessions, I think, will help a lot of youth team coaches around the world. I know a lot of youth team players in England, and again, agree with what you're saying. A lot of the time, the players are scared to take throw-ins because they're not confident enough in taking them. And it all does seem to be try to throw it as long as you can down the line, and it's duel, like you said. So I really think that you'll help and make a big difference at not only at the professional level, but also at youth level as well. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of coaches out there and a lot of fans that really appreciate the work that you do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
No worries, Thomas. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. It's been fantastic to be with you. So, yeah, perhaps I'll see you on the pitch.
Yeah, hopefully one day, mate. That would be great.
Yeah, great.
Cheers, Thomas. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.